Mr. Azevêdo, what a pleasure to see you once again.
That's right, that's right. No, it's been a long time. Yeah, and I'm really happy to be here with you again.
Does the global trading system still have a hope?
Yes, absolutely. I don't think the world can move on without it.
As simple as that.
Yeah, I don't think it can. I mean, the scenario, the alternative, is awful. It's basically a scenario of unilateralism. And people usually, when they're talking about negotiations and conversations among countries, they're talking about win-win scenarios or win-lose scenarios. But there is a third scenario, which when you see unilateralism thriving, which is the lose-lose scenario. So the fact that the other side is losing doesn't mean that you're winning. You may be losing as well. And unilateralism tends to go in that direction where everybody loses.
Yeah. So WTO has to work because
Absolutely.
We cannot live in a lose-lose world.
Absolutely, absolutely. But for the WTO to work, we need to be more creative than ever.
What do you mean?
Well, the geopolitical tensions in the world have increased quite significantly. When I left the WTO about, 3 years ago, that was already very high. It has not improved. In fact, you would expect that with elections in different places, that geopolitical tensions would diminish, etc. But they didn't. They didn't. They're still there. They are proliferating, in fact, and that is not good. And I think in an environment such as that, having a forum where you can have conversations or where you can begin to build confidence again, it's extremely important. But it's not going to happen overnight.
No.
And it will take baby steps.
What are the baby steps? Because we're already looking at the MC13 coming up, ministerial meeting among all the trade ministers at the WTO in coming February.
I think MC13 could be one of those small steps towards something bigger.
What it needs to achieve?
For example, the world has changed significantly in many ways. One issue that is now at the top of mind in all, public policy environments in different countries is climate change.
So how is this likely to happen with the climate discussion leading up to MC13?
That's precisely the point. I think, for example, we cannot escape this scenario. We cannot escape this reality. So the first thing I think we need to do is begin to talk about it. Is this something that is going to solve by itself? I don't think so, because those policies are going to induce policies in other countries in response. And they are all going to be taken unilaterally without any kind of coordination.
But some people would say, what is your suggestion? Talk again? I mean, you guys have been talking for decades. You haven't reached any solutions.
But that's how it starts. But that's how it starts. We had, for example, the Trade Facilitation Agreement, which was the first truly multilateral agreement that the WTO concluded. It was in the first year of my mandate, actually, which I'm very proud of. It had been going on for decades, right? But all of a sudden, it clicked. Why? Small victories. A conversation here or there, a small agreement with some parties that something was possible. All of a sudden, those little steps, those little things began to make people believe that it was possible. The moment that people believe it is possible,
they're going to work for it.
Things change.
Yeah.
Things change because instead of entrenching your position and being maximalistic about what you want and everything, you begin to think differently. You begin to think, what can I do here to help this go, forward in a way that I want, in a way where I win as well. And then the way that you engage with the others change completely. And it's all due to small victories. And then those things, it's like a snowball. It gains momentum. It gains momentum. At the end, in Bali, the momentum was so strong that a few countries who were not ready to go along all of a sudden felt, okay, I have to do it. I have to do it. I have to do it.
Plurinational agreements, what
Yes.
are likely to be their functions?
Yeah, they are rarely going to be the end game, right? Because you don't have everyone, you have some. In some of the plurilateral negotiations that we have at the WTO today, you don't have all members, but you have 90% of the global economy there, right? So that means a big chunk of the global economy is part of that understanding, but 10% is not.
Yeah.
Now, that is very important because even though it's not perfect in the sense that it doesn't cover everyone, it's not fully multilateral, etc., it is the seed of something that could become multilateral with some changes, some adjustments and things like that. You could make it perfectly multilateral.
What about the middle-sized economies? We see discussions about their roles increasing. For example, many of them are for multilateralism. They believe their ultimate interest is in the success of a global trading system. So how do you see their roles? Sometimes they're grouping together.
It's fundamental that we have many players and players who are constructive, because in negotiations, and I'm actually writing a book about that.
All right, then.
Yeah.
Let me have a preview.
Yeah, I will. But you know, in negotiations, especially when you have many parties, sometimes a proposal that comes at the wrong moment or that comes from the wrong party kills the process. When I was facilitating, when I was the Director General, for example, sometimes one party would come to me and say, what about this solution here for this problem? I said, oh, that's great. Why didn't we think about that before? That's absolutely perfect. And they said, okay, so I'm going to present that. And I would say, no, you're not going to present anything. First, it's too early. Let's wait a little bit. Let people, you know, sweat some more, let them bleed some more. And
the right timing, very important.
Yeah, the timing is very critical. And second, it's not going to be you. Because if you propose this, the other side is going to immediately kill it. Yeah. So let's find somebody else. I can put the proposal as myself, as Director General, or we'll find another party to put the proposal. The proposal is exactly the same, but it will not come contaminated by your fingerprints.
Yes.
And that is very important. So those things have to be taken into account as well. So the role of the middle countries, of the mid-sized countries, is very important in that sense, because they can make proposals that others see as a positive contribution instead of a self-serving proposal.
Having said that, though, we see some of the big powers in the world are moving to directions of closer interactions, at least for now. For example, China and the United States, with the upcoming APEC, Mr. Azevêdo, many are expecting more closer communications from the two sides. What would that mean?
Well, the reality is that the world is being shaped, especially in the area of climate change, where the US and China will have a big role to play, both of them, where the economic equation for any private sector agent, a company, say a company wants to invest on a plant to produce a product that is sustainable or something like that.
Yeah.
And I see that every day when I talk to companies and when I talk to investors. They don't know whether they should invest or not, because it's not about the market necessarily, it's about the government action. Indeed. Is the government going to support me? Is the public policy that I want, that I need to make this happen, going to be in place? And in time, will the financing be available? Now, that kind of predictability is fundamental for the growth of the global economy. Because for investors, there are a few things that are essential. One of them is predictability. The other one is profitability, right? And if those things are not in place, they're not going to invest, they're going to hold back. If they don't invest, the economy doesn't grow. If the economy doesn't grow, jobs are not created.
And vicious cycle.
It's
absolutely.
Absolutely. So it is very important that we have that kind of predictability, and it's only going to happen if governments talk to each other.
What are your hope for those interactions among, for example, between China and the United States?
I think they should start with a confidence building process. You know, it's not in every area, that they can work together now, I don't think, because of the political environment. So it's very difficult, and you have to be pragmatic about this. In some areas, it's going to be very difficult to have a conversation and make it happen. But in other areas, maybe, you know, I particularly think that climate change is one of them. Right? Both countries are major players. They're the two largest economies in the world. Any global solution of a climate can only be solved if it is a global solution. And there are some countries who cannot be absent from that solution. China cannot be absent from that solution. The United States cannot be absent from that solution. The European Union cannot be absent from that solution. And the mid-economy, Brazil, India, they cannot be absent. So it is absolutely fundamental that they talk to each other and that they begin to understand that your solutions or your interests are not necessarily going to work for everybody else. So you have to be open-minded about how to approach this in a way that there is enough flexibility for everyone to contribute and make everybody move in the direction of a more sustainable world.
Thank you so much, Roberto. What a pleasure to see you once again, this time in China.
Yes, yes, and I'll be coming back, I'm sure.
Looking forward.
Thank you so very much.